So when a holiday traditional favorite, Clark Griswold goes nuts. Then when he doesn't get his bonus and calls for the head of his boss on a pike, and I think it gets delivered later on that night in the form of a package. So just goes to show you, drunken rants sometimes work.
Sometimes they pay
Christmas
off.
season. It's a Christmas season, boys. So we are the Three Angry Giant fans. We opened up a stocking full of coal for both of us yesterday. This is your host, Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan Novak. Initial thoughts of that shit show, boys?
Boredom. I mean, just a nondescript, boring New York Giants game where the Tommy Cutlets DeVito, spree or whatever just kind of came to an end. Not due to him, but the O-line of the Giants resorted back to their ways early in the season where DeVito dumped 7 times, 57 yards, same old shit, right? Just boring, and the Jets just a catastrophe. I mean, at least we had each other's company to kind of get us through a Sunday afternoon with just bad December football by 2 teams.
Yeah, pathetic is my word. And it's funny, I think I mentioned during the game that it was like, is this the same game on 2 TVs that we're watching? Because nothing was happening in either one of them to like get anyone out of a seat. It was, I don't know. If I were the bar, you know how sometimes TV, when a game is like way out of hand, they'll be like, we're going to switch you over to a good game. I'm surprised like the bartender didn't come over and be like, guys, I can't have 2 TVs on these 2 games.
We got outscored 54-6. I mean, combined games. I mean, think about that.
That's awesome.
If they were taking games off the schedule there, they might have been to like just gone to blank TVs or put like Little House of the Prairie on, because you had the Falcons Panther game too.
Yeah.
What was the attendance at the game, by the way? I failed to look at it today. What was the?
You're gonna love this. It was a sellout technically.
Oh.
Why do we keep that?
The hell out of here.
I do not think that they actually released the gate. So
we were going with 75,000 no-shows is what they're saying officially.
15 minutes before game time, that place looked like a dead zone.
Well, there was the guy at the bar that said he had not missed a Panther game in 20 years, drove to the stadium, went in so he could say that he didn't miss the game, and then he was at the bar 20 minutes later.
Tickets were going for under $1. That's absurd. Absurd.
It wouldn't be as bad if they were just free. The fact that they were 45 cents makes it even that much more like humiliating and very embarrassing.
Insulting. Yeah,
right?
Totally is.
Better off just having them free. Like turn it into like a donation. Like, it's Christmas season. We're just gonna donate, to the less fortunate or something like that. Make it seem like it was a donation from the NFL.
Speaking of donations, this episode is brought to you by the Human Fund. The Human Fund, where money for humans.
Money for people.
That's money for people.
And Cougar's like, hey George, we got to throw some money at one of these, found one of these charities. So I don't know, $20,000 made out to the Human Fund.
So before we get into everything, let's give a shout out. So going back to the most southern state on our East Coast, hello, St. Cloud, Florida. Population 54,579. It's in the Orlando metropolitan area, and it was originally founded as a retirement community for Civil War vets, and it was called the Friendly Soldier City. It's best known for there being a flap around separation of church and state. So in the 60s, they were gifted a 12-foot cross, and they put it on top of their water tower. Well, 20 years later, the ACLU sued, saying you can't have religious symbols on a municipal water tower. So they tried to replace it with a Greek cross. Now, a Greek cross looks more like a plus sign than the traditional, I guess, Latin cross. And the ACLU still said this isn't good enough, and they filed another lawsuit, and now there's nothing atop the water tower.
So St. Cloud in the Sunshine State.
St. Cloud in the Sunshine State.
Yeah,
exactly. That sounds right.
St. Cloud, Minnesota makes more sense. Like I get that.
Exactly. Or
yeah.
Cleveland.
I thought there was a university St. Isn't there a university St.
I
Cloud
think
or
that's
something?
Minnesota, though. I think
Don't
that's
they?
in
Yeah, they're always
Minnesota,
like in the
isn't
Frozen Four.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. I love how college hockey, like it's universities and schools, Rensselaers out there, stuff that schools you never heard of, but they're dominant in ice hockey. It's great.
So Novak brought up the 54-6. So this league flip-flops again. The conference offensive players of the week were back to being pedestrian at best, if not replaced. So both quarterbacks at one point during that game were replaced by the backups. The hype for Dak Prescott died down, and the Cowboys took a big step backwards, and now everyone's crapping on them. But boys, when it comes to the Giants and the Jets, DeVito and Wilson went back and had very subpar days, and it's like one week you're conference player of the week, the next week you're throwing up 0 and 6 points.
Yep. The league giveth and taketh away.
I saw a stat about DeVito. He's the 5th most sacked quarterback in the league. He's played 5 games.
I was going to say, how many games has the guy played?
Yeah.
Who's number 4, Jones?
Probably Zach Wilson.
Right.
Well,
nobody gets fired. Everyone keeps their job. Every coach is game planning now for next week against, at Philadelphia. They just game plan week in and week out, sitting probably doing a film session today and coaches meeting. No one gets fired on the New York Giants. It's insane.
Was it Mike or Cardone waiting for this being the week that we would see the defenders mock the sign? And the Saints did that on the very first sack they had.
Yeah, and they did it then throughout the game too. I was looking for it from Green Bay. However, I wasn't wrong. They just didn't get a sack. I have a feeling that they would have, if they had gotten a sack, we'd have seen it.
I love sometimes I was just barking at the screen every time a Saint got a sack. I'm like, you don't even know who this guy was 2 months ago. Get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. Yeah. None of us knew who Tommy DeVito was 2 months ago. But we're doing this Italian stereotypical mocking of the guy. I love it.
It was an interesting situation because the 4 of us were at a bar watching the game together, and Novak was taking a bunch of crap from a lady sitting next to him. It was, throughout the day, even, and then when the Dolphins pile on like a garbage score, she still looks at him and starts taunting him. It's like, what's going on here?
She was relentless.
I mean, you're dancing on my pet peeve here, Scott, but nonetheless.
Yeah, all right, we'll hold off then. Yeah.
I was taking it from her. The bartender was giving me crap. I'm like, what did I do wrong? I just showed up to watch a game.
You wore Jets gear.
I know.
We're the scourges of the NFL. We're the scourges of fans now, apparently.
Guys, again, I've brought it up many, many times, and Larry David said it perfectly. Like, this is you leave the house and you just put yourself at risk of all of this incoming nonsense. That's what you do, especially a sports bar. We had one, I didn't mention, so Hisman and I stuck around a little while after you guys left, and early on in the Dallas Buffalo game, Dak gets sacked. I didn't even know. We were half paying attention. Mike and I were just talking or whatever, and I look up, I see Dak getting sacked, and I just start clapping. I'm like, yeah, and all of a sudden, immediately some guy, just a voice from the rafters is like, first quarter, dude, or something. I'm like, I look at his man, I go, was that for me?
I go, did I do that?
First quarter, what's your point? So in other words, sacks don't count in the first quarter. Like, you're stopping a drive. It only matters if it's the end of the game. And this isn't even my team. I just got humiliated by the Saints. I'm sitting here having a beer with my buddy. Like, you can't even. All I said was, yeah, on a sack, first quarter. How the fuck did the guy even hear me?
I don't know how he heard you. That's a good one.
Right? It wasn't like I was barking at this guy. I literally looked up. I see one play, and I see Dak Prescott getting dumped, and I just let out a medium-leveled, yeah.
Yeah, it was like in the middle. It's like we're talking, and we both look up and see that happen, and we're like, all right.
Yeah.
Just like that. And yeah,
first quarter. Settle down over there. I look at his, I go, was that for me right there? I go, it's unbelievable. You can't leave the house. You just can't.
So last week we were talking about the consistency of the officiating, where they let offensive holding go for both teams the entire game. And in this game, Giants Saints were at 7-6 shortly after halftime. Giants get a big third down stop, at 7-6. And sure enough, we look up and the yellow box is there for a penalty, and they call defensive holding on what was probably one of the weakest defensive holding calls that we would have seen in that entire game had they tried to call defensive holding some other time during that game. Again, that was the only defensive holding, I believe, that was called for either team. And it happened on a 3rd and I want to say it was a 3rd and 7 where we get a stop.
The ball, yep, 3rd and 7. Yep.
Ball was not going to be caught. After that first down was given, it took the Saints 4 more plays, I believe, and they scored a touchdown.
And game over. Yeah.
That was in thinking about the recap. There wasn't a lot to recap. Like I said, it was just one of those games but that was the only play. Because usually I write down a couple game turning plays down. That was it. You just hit the nail on the head there, Scott. That was the one and only play where, and the Giants don't win this game regardless. But to your point, 7-6 game. The Giants are getting off the field. That drive was at the 46, so albeit they were going to flip the field, but nonetheless, the Giants are getting the ball back. That was the opening drive in the second half for New Orleans. Game-changing, game-turning, game-deciding, game-over drive because of that fucking yellow box. Point blank. On a call that there's nothing going on, 3rd and 7, and here comes there's the yellow box. Game over. Even though it was 14-6, but once game over. It continues.
And the Saints did have a legitimate complaint later on in the game, or maybe it was even earlier, where they got called for a roughing on a hard hit on a wide receiver for whatever reason there is. But then again, Mike's streak of saying that quarterbacks that get knocked out when there's not a flag stayed intact because Danny DeVito or Tommy DeVito, for some reason, you guys got me saying it now. DeVito, for some reason, was forced to leave the game after a hit that supposedly didn't hit him in the head because they picked the flag up. So not only do the Giants not get the penalty, but the refs say DeVito was concussed, so he's got to leave the game. So how do those two compute together? You can't say that he wasn't hit and he's got to leave the game, or you say he was hit hard and he's got to leave the game, but the flag stays. I don't know how you pick up that flag.
I don't know how you pick it up after you throw it. I mean, it had all the hallmarks of a roughing. DeVito's giving himself up. The shot, although maybe not aimed at the head, hit him in the head, and his head bounced off the ground on the way down. You know, that's just I hate to say one of our cliches that talking heads say all the time, but they do throw that every time, regardless of whether or not the quarterbacks get hits in the head. You know, you see that call consistently throughout the league. It's one of the few consistent calls that's out there. So, yeah, I was a little bummed about it because, like Scott said, they throw the flag, and I'm like, oh. Here's a flagged play where the quarterback actually got hurt. So this is what, and then sure enough, they pick up the flag. So the streak is intact.
And we also saw how they talk about player safety so much in the NFL. We saw a Pittsburgh Steeler now suspended for the remainder of the season for his hit on Michael Pittman, but yet they let a flag go yesterday on a Dak hit. They let flags go every now and then on these quarterbacks that are sliding, that are being hit in the head. And I don't understand. I don't understand the player safety part of this, because they talk so much about player safety, but then their actions tend to go away from what player safety really is. Yeah,
the player safety verbiage, what they say about that, is all a complete lie. We've covered that before. It's goes to my designated pet peeve, which is gaslighting. It's something that they say so that they can enforce other rules to help the offense, and they do it under the guise of player safety.
I feel like we all have similar pet peeves tonight because, again, mine is we're talking about it actually. So, well, I mean, I'll save it for later and do a little different spin on it. But again, one of those eye-popping plays that you see it, can't believe, you can't believe that the flag is picked up and that the game goes on and there's no call. It's just insane. It's just, I'll explain a little bit more of my pet peeve around it. But those were the two biggest plays from what was really just a boring football game, really. I mean, the holding on third down and then DeVito getting knocked senseless.
Yep.
And then, yeah, the only other thing was that questionable, almost, similar to a college targeting call on the Saint defender, which, by the way, was on earlier on that same drive. And, the officials came back with a repay, repaying that penalty, but they chose to do it on a play when the quarterback's getting knocked out. They couldn't find another place to throw that flag.
The offensive holding that's phantom. You can't throw when there's the makeup
right.
call. That's usually the makeup call.
Yeah.
Can't just throw a 1st and 20 in there. We just, we love the 1st and 20. So yeah, they couldn't find a makeup call somewhere.
But I think you hit it on the head earlier when you said it's just a boring game overall, because I was looking at things to talk about in this game. The Giants really didn't get pressure from their defensive line all that much. The secondary kept leaving big holes in the middle, so they were just sitting in a zone, or the Saint receivers were sitting down finding the hole, and Carr was finding them all day long. And a guy like David Carr, man, I wanted pressure all day long. I don't know why we weren't doing more of that. And then the Saints defense, I think we brought it up on the pod last week. They are a very good defense, and they showed it. I mean, they were bringing pressure on DeVito, and they were making plays.
Yeah. Yep. The Saints are as advertised. They're a good defense, and they're not that good, I didn't think. But again, to your point, Scott, at the Giants on defense, I just don't know how we have this reversion on defense, if that's a word, but reverted to this. How in the world do you rush 4 and leave giant open gaps in the secondary? How can you do both? I mean, that just it's like they were playing with 10 guys or something. It's ridiculous, and I don't know where in the world that comes from. And the very first part of my comment about that is the part I really don't understand. Why are you rushing 4 against one of the most turnover-prone quarterbacks in the NFL?
Mm-hmm. It was like Patrick Graham, our defensive coordinator from a few years ago, who I don't think any one of us could stand. He never had a game plan other than sending 4 guys. It's like he left his notepad around the locker room this week or something like that, and they picked it up. We're like, oh, let's just go with Patrick Graham's. We're not coming up with our own scheme. We were saying it in the first quarter, like, you're going to send somebody, Wink? You're going to come up with it? What's the game plan? And when you know it right away, it's just frustrating. I just looked at the numbers earlier. I mean, Derek Carr had 5 incompletions. The guy was 23 for 28. I'm sure, I don't need to look this up, but I'm sure the guy hasn't had a game like that all year. I mean, because this guy is not the most accurate quarterback. He's, like you said, he's turnover prone. Collapses and caves under pressure like most of these quarterbacks do, and we couldn't disrupt this guy all afternoon. Just bullshit.
Yeah, you made the point, Cardone. At one point, I think the Giants blitzed 2 plays in a row, and got like an incomplete pass and then a sack out of the 2 blitzes. And we're like, all right, Wink is woken up here. The game was still in reach at that time.
Yeah, it was early. Yeah, second quarter.
Back. We went right back.
Yeah,
laying back.
So the Jet Dolphin game was not much better, if better at all. It was 30-0. The thing we took away most from that game is that Saleh-Cam was on hold in the first drive. He was replaced by the Tyreek Cam, but sure enough, the Saleh-Cam came back on, and there were numerous shots of his mug with his beard
his beard is back.
Yeah,
overnight. Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, that game was more pathetic than the Giant game. I mean, you had some semblance of a potential chance of a comeback, in the third quarter there. Jets were out by the middle of the first quarter. Game was over. And I think for the first time this year, even the defense looks like they just gave up. I think Saleh has lost this team. Alan Lazard, why is he popping off Alan Lazard? Like, you've done nothing all year but drop balls and have big time penalties. And he's saying they out schemed us, they out prepared us, they out hustled us or whatever. Shut up. No one cares what you think. You suck. If Quinnen Williams wants to say that, or Garrett Wilson or Breece Hall, one of these guys, fine. You shut up. You should have nothing to say. But I do think that this is the game that they just gave up and they lost it. I felt like the left side of the offensive line was like doing their best Evan Neal impressions. I mean, they were just going, here you go have at Zach and Trevor Siemian, who's in there too. They couldn't get the run established. Breece Hall couldn't get 2 yards on any carry. They didn't try anything creative. And I guess once Zach went out, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that, but once Zach went out, the game was over. And he got hit big in the first quarter, fumbled. The Dolphins got the ball on the 1 yard line, and it was game over. It was just painful to watch, but just another reminder that this is just a lost season, and they are officially eliminated now. You guys, however, are not. Just so you know, I heard this stat. If you win your next 3 games, you have a 41% chance of getting in.
Nice.
So, hey,
God,
you still got a shot.
Are
But
we in
no,
the hunt or are we alive?
You're alive. Definitely alive.
Yeah.
alive. Yeah, I was
Barely.
going to mention. I saw the little E next to the New York Jets there in the standings, Novak. So I was like, oh, it's official. Nails in the
official.
coffin. There you go.
So
The
Novak,
only drama we have left is,
Dick?
are we going to see the Dick on Sunday?
Yeah.
No way.
He has said that he wants to play. Why on God's green earth would this dude play behind that offensive line? Why? Why would you do that? I mean, you're torpedoing the next season if you get hurt. There's no reason for him to play. The only reason I want to see him play is because I want to be right about this prediction that I made in week 4. And Mike knows this. And
Oh, yeah.
just so all the listeners know, Mike is giving me credit on the prediction if he just takes a snap that he played on
Yeah.
Christmas Eve. So that's what I want. I want Rodgers in there for one play.
One play. That'll do it. Chalk it up to certainly the best prediction that's been made on this air, without a doubt.
is that the version of like the Panther fan show stepping into the stadium and then walking out?
Yes. Yeah.
Pretty much. It'll be like the Michael Strahan, Brett Favre sack.
So Novak had sent over a picture to us. I was just calling it up as you guys were talking, and it shows it's one that we saw earlier in the year with the Giants. But Wilson is running to his right. There are 4 Dolphins hot on his tail, and there are 4 Jet linemen just looking at the 4 Dolphins from about 5 to 7 yards away, like, oh, those are our guys they've got by us.
But to their credit, if you look, one guy had his hand up by his mouth. He was going, "Look out, Zach!"
Look out.
So they were still trying to, protect them. But yeah, that's what happened. Bradley Chubb had the game of his life against the Jets, of course, and 30-0, 30 to Dick, as Cardone would say.
Love it.
30 to Dick.
Yeah, that picture's not quite as iconic as the Y.A. Tittle one, where which is one of the most where he's on his knees after being bloodied and battered, where his helmet it just got cracked in half. But that picture of Zach Wilson with 4, that is as great an image capture of the Jets season as you can get. It's just awesome. I'm looking at it right now. I got it on my phone right here. So it's amazing. Yeah.
I put it on all my Jet boards, like all the Facebook groups and all that stuff. Everyone's cracking up over that thing. It's getting tweeted left and right or whatever, but it's amazing. It is an amazing picture.
There was one from like week 3 or 4 with the Giants, and I think the Giants one was a little bit better because all the linemen didn't just get beat by their men and looking back. They're all on the ground looking back.
Laying down. Yeah, you got Novak. You found your 2023 Jets yearbook cover.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
Right.
When NFL Films does the video, what do they entitle the season? The other way, looking the other way.
They always try to put some just asinine positive spin on the season. Jets endured a tough season, but they're flying forward into 2024, some bullshit like that. They're ready to take off. It's always some stupid pun. Giants take a giant leap forward in 2024 by winning one of their last 5 games in 23 season.
I love those videos when we were growing up, man. The season yearbooks.
Yeah.
I got a kick out of it. I love when the Giants were bad. They were even more awesome because they would they'd show in depth the first 4 weeks, and then the Giants had a 7-game losing streak in there, and then they would just in week 13 the Giants showed you like what happened to what happened to week 6 through 12.
Well, just think the enduring images from 23 for the Jets and Giants are the Achilles tear and a chicken cutlet. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the year?
I know. By the way, what did I say when DeVito? I actually cracked myself up yesterday at the bar there, guys, because when DeVito got knocked out, I said to everybody, I'm like, never in my life at any point in this season could I have thought to myself, I actually had stress and anxiety because Tommy DeVito left the game. Right? I'm like, oh my God, DeVito's going to the 10. And then I realized, I caught myself, I'm like, holy shit, listen to how that sounds. We're having anxiety that DeVito went to the 10. It's just, that's where our season was. I was distraught. DeVito was headed to the fucking tent.
So sad.
So when you look around the NFL, there's been a lot of bad football being played, and some of it goes back to what we were saying. You know, we had that game where, you know, at the end of the game, Tyrod Taylor was in, DeVito had been in, Trevor Siemian was in. We watched a game on Thursday night with Easton Stick playing and giving up 70 points or whatever to the Los Angeles Raiders. I mean, this league right now, we saw, what was it? What was the score of the Panther game? 9-7?
9-7.
9-7. So you had a 9-7 game, a 30-0 game, you know, just a 24-6 game. I mean,
yeah.
Prior to that, a 6-0 game and a 3-0 game in the last couple of weeks. Just bad football is being played. But if you look around the league, I think the tally is now up to half the teams having their backup quarterback or third string quarterback playing in this season. And that's, I think, to me, that's the reason driving it.
Yeah.
It's a major reason, of course. I mean, I think we talked about it yesterday, guys. How many, Scott? I mean, how many? Way too many backup quarterbacks are playing, especially this late in the season. I think it's just a little bit less.
I think it's 14 teams, which is close to half. You know,
it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch when our teams are out of the playoffs, and the season is lost now. So to watch some of these games, where especially like on Thursday night games, even the Saturday games, they get Saturday games, guys. I hardly watched any of those. I saw a little bit of the earlier one between Minnesota and Cincinnati. I was hoping to get a tie from Cincinnati because the Bengals are the annual perennial, you know, team that is always a threat to tie somebody, but we didn't get that. So bad football right now. It's mostly due, I think, to you know, the quarterback situation. But I don't know, guys. So it's something about, and it's going around, right? You've heard comments from former players, especially like Brady and some of the other guys that would know a lot about what good football looks like. And there's just a sense that this league, the quality of play, we talk about it all the time on our show here. We talk about it offline. It's just, I don't know, guys, has it reached like a season low, or are we getting to like an all-time, not an all-time low, but are we at a season low right now? And which is, you know, it untimely because we're about a month away or less than a month away from the playoffs.
I think so. I think the big indicator is going to be who is lining up for Super Wild Card Weekend, because I'll guarantee you, we're gonna see the Falcons or the Buccaneers or, you know, these crap teams that somehow are in there. I don't remember that back in the day. You got in as a wild card. You were 10-6, and you had a chance. Mm-hmm. We're gonna see backup quarterbacks, shitty offensive lines, blowouts. I don't see this playoff season being any good either. I think we have one good team, one great team in the 49ers, and a bunch of other middling ones with, you know, I think the Bills are actually a team on the rise right now. But I don't think, I think this is a low for the NFL since I've been alive. I really do this year.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that we have one great team there, because I actually kind of broke this down. I think in the NFL, there's one great team, and then there's 5 teams that are all right, pretty good. And then there's 10 teams at the other end that are just complete ass. And then in the middle, there's 17 teams that are just bad.
Yeah.
You know, that's the NFL right now. You know, 17 or 27 of the 32 teams are bad or just completely bad.
Well, and we're propping up people, and this could probably be a pet peeve here, but we're propping up people for mediocre performances now too. Yeah. The guy that brings to mind for me is after this week, people are like, look at Baker Mayfield. He's playing up to his draft status. And I'm like, just last week they lost to Atlanta. You guys were killing them. Now all of a sudden he beats a team and, Baker Mayfield's back in the fold. It's like, well, you know, stop being so schizophrenic with all of these predictions and talk about quarterbacks. Even the DeVito stuff, I got to admit, DeVito is a nice story, but the guy's not putting up numbers that are going to make, you know, Tom Brady quake in his boots or anything like that.
No.
You know,
then he wouldn't think Daniel Jones is like worried about competing with Tommy DeVito and camp next year. Like, no, he might be worried about another guy we bring in, but it's not going to be it'd be DeVito.
I think DeVito's making a great case for us whether or not we keep 3 quarterbacks next year.
Yeah.
You know,
I had somebody asked me, you know, is who was this? It was just some random guy asked me if DeVito was for real. And I'm like, no, but he's made the season a little interesting right now. I mean, that's just really what it is. Stop looking at W's and L's so much and just kind of look at what the guy's doing out there. It's nothing.
I mean, if Tyrod Taylor had never gotten hurt, he might have just gone and played for the Calgary Stampeders next year. Who knows? He could have gotten cut. Yeah. He might not have ever seen the light of day in the NFL. He got lucky. He took his chance, and the guy's going to stick around for 5 to 7 years now as a backup, third string, whatever. He's not a starter. Come on.
No, right.
Yeah, he's a good story in a year that needed a good story.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, Mahomes and Kadarius Toney had another tiff this week. Mahomes throws a ball, it goes off Toney's hands and is intercepted. And as Mahomes goes to the bench, he throws a couple things and he can be seen lip reading saying, "I hate this fucking guy." So I think once you've gotten on Patrick Mahomes' bad side, I think Kadarius Toney's days are numbered in Kansas City, and his days in the league may be numbered, because this is his second flame out with a team where he just makes boneheaded mistakes.
I mean, his offsides a couple weeks ago or whatever that was ruined or tarnished Mahomes' reputation a lot. I mean, it did. If Toney lines up on sides, Mahomes is one of the great plays, as he said. Then we missed out on it. Toney himself is killing Patrick Mahomes' reputation.
Yeah, because now many people think Patrick Mahomes is a whiner because of that.
Exactly.
And, yeah, that's gonna stick.
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toney is to Mahomes.
I'm definitely one of them.
What
I was saying it all week, right, guys? I'm like,
all
of a sudden now, Mahomes is a puss.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Christmas night, we got Christmas Day, we have 3 games, and one of them is the Giants-Eagles. I don't know if I'm assuming DeVito will be the quarterback for that. I don't know if Hurts will be. We're yet to see if Hurts is going to play. We're by the way, we're recording on a Monday, getting this out of the way early after the stench of yesterday. But guys, thoughts on the Giant Eagle game? Do we have any hope in this game, or is this going to be just another not just a defeat, but is this going to be an ass kicking? Is this going to be Sirianni mugging it up and just rubbing our faces in the mud?
Total ass kicking coming. There's no competing in this game. There's no game planning that's going to happen on either side of the ball. This game's in Philadelphia, which I don't know if that even makes any difference at all. I mean, other than the Giants would get their ass kicked at Met Death either way. Eagles are playing for everything. Everything's riding on their playoff seeding, the division, all that. So I know they got a challenge tonight in Seattle there, but no, Scott, it doesn't matter who takes the field, who's not playing, who's out, who's hurt, who's sick, whatever. I mean, if I'm going to give a score now, I mean, the Eagles have no problem putting up easily 30 plus points on this Giant team. This is like 38-7 Philly. The Giants aren't going to be able to. They're not going to be able to do anything. There's 3 games left in the Giants season. They are mailing it in. This is a mail-in job. They got the Eagles twice. They got the Rams, a resurgent Ram team in there. So this is the first of 3 games where the Giants are the season's over. They're just mailing it in. There's no way they make anything uncomfortable for Philadelphia next week. No way.
Even though if we win all 3, we have a 45% chance of getting in the playoffs.
41.
Correct.
41.
You don't tack on that 4%. 41%. Yeah. Meanwhile, that's not including all the other scenarios that have to happen, right? All the other teams that have to roll over and that kind of stuff. So that has no bearing on this game. No bearing whatsoever. 38. The Eagles win this by 30.
Mike?
Yeah, I of course they're just going to ruin Christmas. Everyone knows the Giants are going to ruin Christmas. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And yes, we're on Christmas Day, the most holy day of the year, and you're supposed to give thanks and forgiveness and love everybody. Sirianni's going to make me say things out loud that I do not want to say in front of my family. It's of course Cardone's dead on. This is going to be an whistle to whistle ass beating, and I've got it 40 to Dick Philly.
Wow.
I just want to say Dick.
Hey, I'm going to pick a 0 now every week. Between
Yeah.
our two teams, I can.
That's in play. Dick is in play every week.
Dick is in play.
So I see it being a bad score too. I don't have it nearly as bad as both of you, although I do have it bad. I agree with Cardone. They're going to lay 30 on us at least. And I have the game 31-13. So the reversal of the numbers there, but 31-13. Eagles.
Yeah, this is is an
Gotta
ass
be
kicking
specific.
spot.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. I think you guys are going to get your asses handed to you. I'm going to have a fun score with it, so I'm going to go 37-2.
All right. Who doesn't play if Hurts plays, or if Hurts doesn't? Who
Marcus
plays
Mariota.
if Hurts doesn't?
But
Oh, yeah,
he is
there we go.
playing, by the way. I just checked my phone. He's playing.
Hurts
tonight.
is.
Yes.
So the Jets, they have a winnable game. They're playing the Redskins.
Yeah.
Tickets
Ron
as low as
Rivera's a
16
lame
bucks, by the
duck
way.
coach. What's that?
Tickets as low as $16.
For the Redskins game?
Yep.
Oof.
$16. Oh my gosh.
So if you got a little budget left in your your stocking stuffer or something like that, stuff a Met Death ticket
Stuff a
in
jet
your
ticket in there.
Yeah.
That's right. I think this. I'm not going to say they're going to get their asses kicked because it's the Commandos, but I don't know who's going to play quarterback. Zach's in the concussion protocol. Only one quarterback has made it within a week, which is Brock Purdy. Even though Mahomes has probably had 7 concussions and never went in once, but that's neither here nor there. So because of that, they've got to start Trevor Siemian or Brett Rippon or maybe the Dick. If I knew he was going to play, I actually would pick them to win, but I don't know that yet today. So I am going to say the Jets are going to lose this game 12-3.
12-3. See, now we know.
And if it's not the Dick, it will go down as the most boring game of the year, aside from maybe that 3-0 Charger Raider game.
We know the biggest return next week is not, the baby that was born in Bethlehem. It's going to be the Dick. And so he is going to step on that field. There will be like a rainbow that will encircle the stadium. Even has to be digitally put in there by the Jets media staff. And he's going to lead the Jets on Christmas Eve at Met Death to a 24-13 victory.
That would be fantastic.
He's probably going to throw a touchdown to Lazard, by the way.
Jets are favored by 3 somehow.
How?
I don't know. And the early forecast here, Novak, again is
Is it rain again?
It looks wet. I mean, it's the Jets. It's Met Death. I mean, rain has to be somewhat in the forecast, doesn't it? Incredible.
Unbelievable.
It's unreal. What another weird game. I don't know. I don't know why Novak. The Jets got even they play gross football. The Giants do too. But I mean, the Jets even their matchups week after week. It's one gross team after another. It seems like.
Yep.
I mean, the Dolphins, I guess, don't fall in that category. But I didn't even know who they were. It's funny. I had to look up before we came on. I wasn't sure who the Jets were even playing next week. I'm like, oh God, what the football team. I don't know how to predict this game. I'm going with the football team just because I just can't. I can't bring myself to pick the Jets. And I'm going to go football team. I don't know, 19. I think 19. Let's go with just odd scores all over the place. I'll go 19-11. Football team.
19-11 football team. Gotcha.
There's a safety in there somewhere. There's not going to go for 2, or there's I see something extra point or something clanging off the upright. Something's going to happen.
So one of the most impressive things to me about the Jets this year, and Novak kind of mentioned that for the first time this year, really they looked a little disinterested, but it's how the Jets defense has hung in there. I mean, you see good defenses a lot, and when they realize that they're going nowhere, and let's be honest, this team's known they're not going anywhere for 4 or 5 weeks probably.
Yep.
The defense has played, and they played hard every game. They play with pride, and they were in a tough spot last week, I know, to give up 30. But so the bad news is, Novak, I have the Jets scoring 6 points. The good news is I have Washington scoring 5. So the 6-5 win.
With Rodgers hitting a 2-run homer in the bottom of the ninth.
The bullpen just implodes late in the game.
Can I get a quick yes/no survey?
Yeah.
Does
Do it.
Rodgers take a snap?
Yes.
I go no.
I say no.
I'm going to go yes.
If he has to go out there just to limp his ass on the field like Willis Reed and limp off, he's going to do that.
Well, the difference with the Willis Reed limping, the guy, he was winning an NBA championship while doing it. A lot more riding on it.
I think in the Dick's mind, this is his NFL championship.
Dick, doesn't he have some darkness retreat to go back to or something?
I would love to see it too be at, let's just say my 6-5 score holds up and the Jets get the ball with 38 seconds left. They bring the Dick in to take a knee.
Or, better yet, no, I just came up with my dream scenario. I would love to see the Dick at least get some playing time, and then around, not sure what part of the game, he goes down and fucking breaks the clavicle. I would love to see him break the clavicle. And it's on a play where he's running for his life to his right, just throws the ball away. He gets dumped like after he releases the ball, falls on the right shoulder, and the right clavicle just pops. Right. And out comes the fucking card again for this chop. Although you probably don't need a card for a clavicle. You could just walk off with that.
Mike, you got any pet peeves tonight?
Yeah, I'll go with my pet peeve because, like, as I told Scott when I came on, we're not only recording on a Monday, which is unusual, but it's only 6:30. So normally we record much later in the evening. So I was like working right up until we get on here, and I wasn't really working. It's my company's open enrollment period, right? This thing sucks. I can't even tell you, why do they put, like, this should just go, if you're a male employee, this should just go straight to your wife. There is no, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea. Everyone I've talked to at work about it is like, oh, if you don't need to change anything, then you just don't do it. You don't need to do it. I'm like, oh, great. Then I'm not going to do it. Decided as I was clocking out today, maybe I better take a look. That's a lie. You've got to do something. My friends at work almost got me uninsured for a calendar year. I appreciate if any of them are listening. Thanks, you bozos. So, yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out open enrollment at 6:30. Of course, I didn't look at it till when it's got to be done today. Tonight at midnight is the deadline. So I imagine I'll be up all night looking at insurance forms for my company's open enrollment. So I don't know if you have a company and you're out there, there's got to be a better way to do this. Like, can't you just give us a form and we just check what we want and give it back to somebody every year? I mean, why does it have to be? I don't know what's in my HR department. They don't know what they're doing. They direct me back to the site I came from. I don't know. You got to go on this site. Well, that's where I came from. That's why I'm asking you about it. So yeah, open enrollment. That's my pet peeve. It sucks. There's got to be a better way to do this.
Good thing you looked. That would have been not a very good thing if on like January 5th you break a clavicle.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I told Bonnie tomorrow that, oh my God, I may have made a mistake, I missed open enrollment and I'm uninsured, that's exactly when I would need the insurance, because she would kill me.
Now you've got me concerned because I didn't do anything for my open enrollment.
Yeah,
like, damn, I better
They're
look.
lying. They're lying. It's a scam.
I don't know about you guys, but I panic immediately. Like any kind of that, anything I do online, I don't care if it's purchasing something or whatever it is. If I don't get that confirmation email right away that I booked a flight or something, I go into this fucking panic mode that it just sets where I can't function. All of a sudden, I'm like, where's my email? How come it didn't go through? And I'm like, where is it? Did my order go through? Did Amazon get my order? What happened here? I got no confirmation email. I just go into a panic.
Yeah.
Same thing with the enrollment thing. I had the same thing, Mike. Mine was a deadline was a couple weeks ago. Same thing. I submitted mine and I didn't get the confirmation email for like 24 hours. I'm like, holy shit, did I get same thing? It was the deadline, it was the last date. So I'm like, I don't know if I got through this thing. It didn't. Where's my email to tell me no? Like, hey, we got it. Calm down, calm down, everyone. No one's canceling any enrollment, flex spending, whatever. Calm down. We got it.
It's amazing. When the open enrollment starts, they should just email people and say, open enrollment is starting. Who should we email this information to? Like, You can be like, send it to my dad, send it to my mom, send it to my wife. Like I don't want to be bothered with that. This company's killing me from the inside out with work, and then I have to do this on my own too. Like, come on.
By the way, I was thinking, speaking of the calm down, everyone, we had one of those like Grey Goose days yesterday. Like I said, it's a lot of fun. We all watch the game together. It's we love making fun of our team. So, but it was a Grey Goose in the opposite way, where the games didn't mean anything. Where we love making fun of our own teams and that kind of thing. And I don't know why. Every 10 minutes, besides saying Salah, we were doing a calm down, everyone. No one's gonna blitz Derek Carr. Relax, everyone, calm down. Calm down, Jet fans. We're not.
There's not going to be any points scored today. Relax.
Don't worry. You're not gonna... We just got a bunch of calm downs, like Newman at the post office. Kramer's trying to cancel his mail.
Were you guys still there when the guy came? I think it was when Cardone and I were just left when the guy came down. It was like, by the way, like I saw you guys toasting every now and then down there. What were you doing? So Cardone had to explain the salad thing.
I was gone by then.
It's spreading.
Oh yeah. It's hilarious.
I don't want. Go ahead.
I was going to say there were less salads for sure, but they're doing extended salad now.
Yes,
so
they are.
We think the screen time is probably pretty comparable,
if not
but
more.
they're doing it in longer.
There was one that was on the screen for 25 seconds minimum.
They had the meeting before the game, and they said, "Look, we're going to him too much, but we need to get enough salad in there. So we're going to do less, but we're going to hold the shot 15 seconds."
Which, if you do actual airtime, I think we might have gotten more Salah. And I was thinking of adding a twist to the drinking game, where it's just you got to keep the pint to your mouth until Salah comes off the screen. Like you got to 6, 7, 8. Because there was a couple times where I think they were missing plays at one point. Like, what the hell is going on the field?
Well, I yelled out at one time. I yelled out extended Salah, so we kept drinking.
By the way, I don't want to worry Novak, but I had to actually go in. I did my open enrollment last month. I had to go in and check a box acknowledging that I consented to the.
That's a bit of it.
Thank you, Mike. You saved me from being insured or not insured.
So, Novak, pet peeves.
Yeah, you touched on it a little bit earlier. We give a lot of crap to a lot of fan bases, right? We hate and I think Cowboy fans, for the most part, Peacock and Chris Coons, they know a lot about football and they love their teams. And so I don't have as much of a problem. I don't like the Cowboys in general, but Philadelphia Eagle fans are just obnoxious. But is there a more unintelligent, uninformed, ridiculous, stupid fan base than the Miami Dolphins? Come on.
I don't know. Probably not.
And Scott's buddy Keith knew a lot about the Dolphins. That's different. But there were some people at this game. The person who was screaming at me didn't pay attention for shit the whole game. They scored a touchdown, and all of a sudden they're barking at me. I'm like, how about you watch the game, and then you can say something to me? You're talking to your friend, playing pool, doing whatever you're doing, not watching the game, and then they score, and then you got to bark, and then we're watching the game. It's third quarter. You're going for number 1 seed. It's empty, the stadium. So my pet peeve is the Miami Dolphins and their fans. I think the team is teal and orange. It's a fish, stupid. I hate everything about the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, the best thing about that lady heckling you is she had to be nudged to notice that they scored. And then she looked up at the screen, and then she looked back at you, and it's like, what?
Well, their fans, they are by far the most female fan base. With the colors and the dolphin, it's out. There's no question. Now, the Chiefs are probably catching up to that very quickly now, but historically, they've been the most female-friendly franchise.
Chiefs are now, and I do, I said, I love to be able to crowbar Sir Purr in on every podcast. So they don't have a Sir Purr, so that's good. But
Sir Purr.
You didn't have to bring up Sir Purr, but I'll tell you that the Panthers fan base gets on my nerves a lot too, because these guys are such bandwagon fans. And guys, we had bad weather here in the Charlotte area yesterday, and the Panthers suck. But sure enough, that stadium was dead. You couldn't find some dad getting his kid the first NFL game for 20 cents to be able to go watch it or something and fill the stadium. No, the place was empty. And then the worst thing I heard today was on the news, who, by the way, the news that covers the Panthers in the Charlotte area are the most unintelligible sports people out there.
It's bad.
So they led the broadcast off with the Panthers win a game with a great performance by Bryce Young.
Oh my God.
They won 9-7.
9 points.
9-7. 3 field goals.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say Bryce Young hit a 3-run homer in the bottom of the ninth to win the game, right? They were down 7-6.
I was ready for you to end that with a great performance by the defense, which, admittedly didn't watch much of that game, and it probably had as much to do with Atlanta as their defense, but that at least would make some sense.
Well, I know Desmond Ridder was just coughing up the ball left and right, but
yeah, it's although I will say this, I live by drive about 15 to 17, 18 minutes from that stadium. I don't know if in the same situation I'd have driven if I lived 15 to 17 minutes away from the Meadowlands yesterday. I don't know if I'd have gone out for that one if it were a home game. If I were a Jet fan, how about that? If I were a Jet fan, I don't know that I could have made that trek yesterday.
And sit in that weather, shit. No, that was just horrific.
Absolutely.
I said like leaving the house, yesterday. I was thinking, I that's my first thought when imagine sitting up at that stadium watching those two teams in this weather, and it was kind of a cold rain too, right? It was like low 50s. It was just a horrific, nasty day up and down the East Coast. I mean, we saw all that. We saw that weather the whole weekend. Our App State Mountaineers won a bowl game on Saturday, and man, what a slop fest that was. It was a wild game, but it was fun to watch.
Fantastic.
Cardone, pet peeves.
Yeah, we kind of already covered it. The fact that we're recording on a Monday, Mike's going with the stuff that he just was doing right before we signed on here. So I didn't do a lot of my homework, guys. So unfortunately, mine's gonna be short. It's really, again, we already covered it. It's just, again, the arbitrary and indiscriminate flags for what's a defenseless receiver, defenseless player, whatever it is. So obviously we already covered the DeVito hit. So I wanted to just kind of point out again and always flip the fact that, can you imagine if that's a Josh Allen, an Aaron Rodgers, a Patrick Mahomes, and there's no flag on that particular play? That is just incredible bullshit. Now, there was a couple things at play there. Scott, you already mentioned it, that earlier on that drive. So this is kind of a two-part pet peeve a little bit, because earlier in that drive, the defensive back for the New Orleans Saints got flagged 15 yards on what was a third down for the Giants earlier in the drive, which was it was a bullshit call. We were even saying, like, that's bullshit. It's almost embarrassing to take that penalty. Kept the Giants drive alive, but the officials couldn't find another place to do the payback call, and it comes on when the quarterback is knocked unconscious. They talk all the time about quarterback safety, protect the quarterback. Well, bullshit, not in that particular case. So that was just an egregious bad payback call first and foremost. And then secondly, the non-star power of a Tommy DeVito not drawing the flag on that. Well, drew the flag and then picked it up. So you had a payback call, you had a flag being picked up, and you had a Tommy DeVito instead of a Patrick Mahomes, not drawing that penalty there. So you had like 3 bullshit things all in one play. It's just the league. I'm so sick and tired of how these games, how they're officiated, what's the arbitrary stuff of it, and we talk about it all the time, guys. So I didn't really have, I thought about it. I didn't have an extensive pet peeve other than just that particular play going into tonight. And we've already kind of covered it earlier. So I don't want to beat this to a dead horse too much here.
No, it's worth mentioning in that, because the thing that really pissed me off about it, if there's no flag, there's no flag, big deal. To pick it up, that's really the part that bothers me the most about it, is the pick.
And I did watch the play again, Mike, and DeVito was turning his upper body from his left to his right to go, to get down, but he was already in slide mode. But if you watch that Saint defender, he is launching himself. He knows full well what the DeVito's. I know it's a bang bang play, but where the guy's launching himself rather than going in with like sort of the two-hand touch that these guys know when a quarterback, is out in the open field there, they're going to get a flag. We see it all the time. And for that one to be picked up is just bullshit.
It's picked up. And again, it's like the one we had on the sidelines the week before where they called the play. What was that one where the official was right there? And the official from across the field came over and talked him out of the, it's the same thing. If the guy right there is making the call, who is the one telling him to pick it up? Where's that coming from?
Where's it coming from?
if the guy right on top of the scene there is throwing it. Unless he threw it and then said, "Oh, that just looked violent. Maybe that hit wasn't as dirty as I thought." But to your point, I mean, the quarterback's well into his slide when the guy launches himself. So maybe he didn't directly hit him head to head.
Didn't hit him right in the head. But nonetheless, it's just.
And I'll tell you what, I can't stand when they have like Terry McAulay and Dean Blandino and these guys in the booth, because they just make up shit after the fact. Like, I saw one 2 weeks ago where it was Mahomes. They threw the flag, even though he didn't get hit in the head. It was a glancing blow, sort of like the one to DeVito, but the defender came with the helmet lowered. And I think it was McCauley said, well, they're going to call it every time because the defender's launching with his helmet, whether he hits him in the head or not. The intent is there with him coming in with his helmet, which is the same exact thing we saw on the DeVito play. Yeah. Now, again, if you're going to make a rule, make the rule cut and dry, where it says either if you're coming in with the crown of the helmet, sort of like they say in college football, it's a penalty. If it's not, and the intent doesn't matter, then just let it go on those.
And they're at some point they're gonna have to do it the other way too, for flopping or Mahomes, who is known for I'm slowing down to go out of bounds and then running up 4 more yards. Like, the defender is giving themselves up, not making the tackle or making the play because they don't want to get a penalty, and the offensive players are taking advantage of that. Yeah. And you saw it, Kelsey, that was a total flop. That Taylor Swift, of course, they showed her screaming F, fuck, whatever. But at some point, these guys are going to take advantage of it, and they on the bailouts and everything else. Are they going to start calling flops like in the NBA? Because they should. Yeah. If you're going to call intent for hitting in the head, you got to call intent for trying to make up a penalty.
Yeah, that's a pet peeve I have with a lot of sports, is that punish the guy too that's embellishing. Exactly. Soccer's the biggest one that comes to mind, because you got guys acting like they've been shot. They lay out, and in soccer, for some reason, you're allowed to just lay on the turf for endless minutes.
Yeah, seems like an eternity, right? Yes,
I don't get it.
European-based sports have all kinds of crazy stuff like that.
They do.
Cricket goes on for 5 days.
Yeah, till you decide you don't want to score any more runs. Is that how cricket goes? It would be like if baseball had three outs, and then you could go as long after that as you want. Until
you decide to quit. I'm too tired. We're going to give it up.
Let's play defense for a little while.
So I had 2 pet peeves, and they're tied together in that I've mentioned it before, but we get foisted on us each week these bullshit stats and next gen stats and PFF grades, and all this stuff is rolled into the production of football to make it seem like we're getting more smart about talking about things when we're really not. And in the pregame, Fox always has not the official pregame, but the pre-game, the show beforehand. So this could come out at like 8 a.m. for all I know. It's got Peter Schrager on there, but Cynthia Friedland is on this show. And for those that don't know, she gives her predictions, not just on the score of the game, but she also predicts all these fantasy projections. And now this is the 2nd straight year she's been horrific at this. I think her percentage of picking games against the spread is something like 38% this year. Oh my God. So it's just bad. It's bad, and it's not getting any better. And her projections for fantasy have not been all that great. But they keep putting her on week after week. And, they're, well, Cynthia, how do you have this game shaking out? Well, I have the Bills winning this game by just 6 points. And the spread is 5 here, so they're just going to barely cover. And then, the Bills will go out and they may not cover that game. Or if they do, they win by like 25. Right. So technically, she's actually right, technically, but completely wrong based on what she just said, because all of her thing is based on the math and the science of what she does. And it's just really bullshit. Now, switching gears, that's just my pet peeve about her, because they keep trotting her out week after week. Switching gear, I think it was Collinsworth who said that a player, and I can't remember which player it was, and it may not even have been Collinsworth. I'm just saying it's Collinsworth because he tends to talk about PFF, because I think he's got financial investment in PFF. Yes. But he said that player would be looking to improve on his PFF grade. And I thought to myself, first off, don't quote subjective shit like PFF grades and say like this is a player's looking out for his PFF grade or anything like that. Deal with the important shit. That player wants to improve based on what the coach's feedback has been from film study. That the coaches aren't going, Neil, you got a 65 PFF grade. We need to get that up in the 80s by next week. Come on now, what's going on? And this reliance on PFF for anything other than snap counts and formations is absolute bullshit. And they're to Mike's word that he uses, they're gaslighting the public into thinking that these stats have value, that these stats actually have tangible meaning in the way we look and we analyze a game. And they don't.
No, they really don't. The attempt over the years to predict football with a computer simulation has been hysterical. And that's basically what analytics are. And it's that part of analytics anyway. And I saw a flash of I think it was when the Giants went for it on the Monday night game that they won, that we were all on the phone like going, just punt, and it actually came up on the screen. It said analytics go with a question mark, and it had the Giants logo, and it said green, yes. Like,
I saw that.
Do you think that's why Dable's like, hey, they're up in the booth going, hey, Dable, it's a green yes. It's a green yes. You got to pull the team back out there. Like, that's crazy.
So
analytics.
We do have a question, and I want to point out too, last week it was sort of a interesting dynamic in seeing the cognitive decline that happens when one's been drinking alcohol. So I started so I had a Christmas party prior to us coming on air, and I had a few drinks, and I listened back to the podcast, and for the first half of that podcast, I was on my game. I was sharp. I don't know what happened, or I had a few beers while we were doing the podcast, and at some point I just became a blithering idiot. And this should actually be like studied by people, that do the DWI test or DUI test and things like that, to be like, between the 4th and 5th IPA of 7.5% alcohol, don't get behind a vehicle. Do not operate a vehicle.
You were like Captain Over in the movie Airplane, when Dr. Rumack, who was Leslie Nielsen's character, where he was explaining the symptoms that would occur if you ate the bad fish on the airplane, right? And as Dr. Rumack is given it starts with a dryness in the throat. So like it starts with like a slur of the pet peeve, and then it continues with the it continues with asking if the Bengals are going to play their starters. Like you went downhill. Like, remember Captain Over? Like he went through every symptom, and like it just became a blubbering piece of jelly within like 60 seconds.
I woke up the next morning realizing I had posted the podcast. I had actually done the download of the video to audio and wrote the write-up to put out there, but I left out the intro, which was the Coming to America part. I added that the next day, so it did get added back. But I didn't even have the intro that says we're the Three Angry Giant Fans. It just started with us talking about the Coming to America scene, and then we introduced ourselves. So there's like dead air for like 5 seconds. So
there's that classic episode of WKRP. I don't know if you guys remember this, where they do that. They're trying to teach about the dangers of alcohol and the decline.
Oh, that's a great one.
And they're giving Dr. Johnny Fever an on the air test. So they're letting him drink a beer, and then the guy will go, ring the bell. And they time how long it takes him to ring the bell. And in the beginning, he doesn't really understand the rules. So he's like waiting and like, should I ring it now? Like now? They're like, well, yeah, whenever I tell you to ring the bells. He's like, so now. Yeah. So it took him, like a minute and a half on his first one. And then as he drank, he got faster ringing the bell. And the scientist that's in there with him is like, this is unbelievable. At the end, he's going, ring the bell, ding.
So we did have one question this week. It's from Brian Peacock.
All right.
And there's many things I love about this question, by the way, because he asks the question, what is the best Giants related gift you've ever gotten? So it's timely to the season. Mm-hmm. And then he actually puts afterwards, in his own words, great question. So he pats himself on the back for asking a question like this.
If you guys knew Peacock, that fits right in. That is perfect.
So before we answered, I actually asked him back. I said, "What is your best Cowboys gift?" So he offered up that he does have 2 dogs, both corgis, named Dallas and Cowboy.
Yeah.
And it's funny because my friend Aldo, who's also a Cowboy fan, he had 2 corgis. He's got 1 now, but he had 2 corgis. So it must be something with corgis and Cowboys fan. But the best gift he ever gotten was a fleece Cowboys blanket that he wraps himself in to watch the games in.
Yeah, he is a big superstition guy. Peacock is for sure. So over the last decade and a half, I guess he probably should throw all that out and start over. It's not been working very well for him. He's a good dude, and despite the fact he's a Cowboys fan, he's an awful good dude.
So great question. We have to reiterate that, but Mike, I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, I remember it's when I was probably 7 years old or so 1977, 1976 in there. And I really hadn't locked into football yet at that age. And I don't remember who gave it to me, but I got the Giants winter toboggan hat with a little beanie on top. And that I love the hat so much that sort of sparked an interest in, all right, I got this hat that, my dad probably gave me. Now I want to go, what's this hat all about? Let me go see what this Giants thing is all about. And that kind of rolled me right into not missing many games from the moment I had that hat on through.
Novak, from a Jets standpoint.
I had one of those hats.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys had up in New York State where you guys are from, but Cardone and I had Sears. Remember Sears?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So we would get like the Sears catalog. And one year I remember remember the jackets that had like the pleather arms?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then I had like the little patch of the Jets right here on the side with the snaps. I got that one Christmas, and that was my best Jets gift ever. And I think I ended up losing at Cardone at the Lincroft Little League fields. But nonetheless,
kidding. Oh, no.
For about 2 years, I had that jacket, and I love that thing.
That's amazing. I think I had the Giants version, I think, of that jacket. Yeah. With the, like you said, the pleather sleeves with the kind of the, I don't know what the rest of it was made of, like almost like that little fuzzy material, if you kind of like a high school varsity jacket or something like that.
Just like that. Yep.
Yeah. One of those. Yeah.
Do you guys remember like how they'd give giveaways at the stadium when you were younger? And I went to it's Yankee games. It's not football really, but it was like jacket day. And it was like this little rain jacket, and I buttoned it up, and I'm wearing it at the game. And I go to take it off, and I go to open up the buttons, and it just rips the entire thing in half.
You should have just taken a medium Diet Coke.
You know what I dislike though about the giveaways? I used to love going to the giveaway games too. The Yankees, like, same thing, growing up Yankee fan and going to helmet day or hat day, whatever, was that the stupid like sponsorships logo was always like plastered on it somewhere.
Yeah.
So in the front it looked like a cool Yankee helmet, it was one that we wore playing wiffle ball in the backyard and growing up. But then it also had the fucking like, I don't know, some like, Getty gas station like on the, like a big Getty in the back or some kind of Hackensack Medical Hospital or some logo. So I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, they ruined them.
I think I used to try to like paint over it even. But good responses, guys. I think for me there's a lot to choose from. Like, again, mostly the attire, because back then when we were growing up, it wasn't like today where there's so much gear. Like, people didn't wear a lot of sports gear. I remember like being in St. Leo the Great Catholic school and like having like a giant jacket or the giant winter hat. But probably I'll go a little bit later when I think it was like probably my first jersey. My Uncle Dan got me, it was a Christmas gift, and he got me a Joe Morris home blue jersey. And it was right when so this would have been like maybe around 84, 85 when, Morris was, became a stud running back around that time, 85. And I wore it to every home game. And you guys have heard me mention the unknown psycho, the guy who sat 3 rows behind us, who used to bark out stuff, and Greg and I would turn around and be like, who said that? What's that guy? The guy would say the most hilarious shit. Like, turn to page 2 in the playbook, Parcells, stuff like that. And we never knew where the guy's voice came from. So I always wore this Joe Morris jersey, and he gave me the nickname Little Joe. So on any play, we're all standing up. He'd be like, Little Joe, that's it, buddy. Hey, Little Joe. And I turn around, and then I finally knew who the guy was. So I was known as Little Joe in section 130 at the old stadium. and it stuck for a long time. Even as I got older and older, obviously into my college years, the guy always just called me Little Joe. I don't even think he knew my real name. You know, we probably never even. I don't know his. We never knew his real name. He was Unknown Psycho. We called the guy Unknown. We'd walk every time we section 130. Greg and I, we go to our seats. We're like, Unknown, and he would give a fist pump, you know, and he would just say, so every time if I stood up first down or something like that, he'd be like, Little Joe. So that to me is like a big time memory growing up at so my giant gift, I suppose. So good question.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Peacock will remember this. This wasn't really a gift, but it was right around Christmas time, and we had Otis Anderson coming to the Oakdale Mall to sign autographs.
Yeah.
And so, we were going to go, then we weren't going to go. Then, like at the last minute, we're going to go. And I'm like, I don't have anything to sign. So I took down this Giants banner that I had. I always had it hanging on the wall down in the Giants room down there. And I folded that up and I took it to go get it signed. So I go up there and we wait in line. And he signs my buddy's stuff. And then I put that down. He's like, hey, you're a big fella. Do you play football? I think I was 21 or 22 at the time. And he's talking to me like I'm a child.
Like you're 12.
And I'm like, he said, hey, you're a big fella there. You playing football yet? Or said something like that. I said, well, yeah, I did in high school. He said, when you were in high school, and so my friends are all laughing, and oh yeah, Mike got disrespected by Otis Anderson at the Oakdale Mall. I'll still have that banner in my attic somewhere.
That's great.
So you guys were dead on about there not being much from a gear standpoint when we were younger. So I you remember the little starter the starter figures. I had a Flippy Sparks one of those one year, which I love. But I had a jacket similar to the one Novak was talking about. It had the leather sleeves, and it looked like the varsity jackets, and that was probably my favorite thing. But I remember the Flippy Sparks, because you could take the helmet off of them, and it looked nothing like Flippy Sparks. It was probably just a generic model. And so I had that, and then I also had an electric football game where the end zone said Giants on both ends.
Nice.
So that was cool. You'd have to stop play and aim the ball to be shot to the receiver.
Yeah, I found out way later in life how to play that. I always had one, but I just would turn it on and make them run in circles, and that was fun for some reason. I don't know.
Absolutely.
But I found out years later, they still have leagues with that thing. There's rules. You on offense, you let it run, and then you stop it when your blocking kind of sets up, and you like Scott said, you could flick the little football from the guy's hand and try to hit a receiver. It was
always like amazing. A little puff thing. It was
like a styrofoam,
yeah. Lost within an hour of opening the game, that football's gone.
Oh yeah.
No chance.
You guys got anything else tonight?
I got one comment I just thought of as we were going. In the middle of the day, right, the 1:00 games, we we're looking at some of the other games, and the Tennessee Titans had their Houston Oilers throwback jerseys on, and the four of us just belted into the old "Love You Blue." Houston Oilers, Houston Oilers, Houston Oilers number one. Which was just, that's better than the BK Whopper song. That's a great jingle, but that Houston Oiler, Love You Blue, the old Astrodome, I loved that uniform. I loved their logo. They were one of those teams. We've talked about other teams. I don't know why I had a thing for the Oilers, an AFC team. It was just a cool team back then. Earl Campbell back in the days. But that "Love You Blue" Houston Oilers song, I absolutely loved it. So it was cool to see the Titans wearing those jerseys.
They were like the 1970s versions of the Chargers with Philip Rivers. Yeah. They would get close, and they would have some heartbreaking loss, some terrible call to the Steelers,
Broncos, Bills. Well, of course, the 35-3 game up
the
in
Frank Wright game.
Yeah, the Frank Wright. That was the Houston Oilers getting beaten that game. So
and I don't know if it was done to thumb their nose, but they actually did it playing against Houston, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, absolutely. That was planned. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well done.
Yes.
So we will not see anyone until after Christmas. So we will be back on the air probably next Wednesday. Again, we're doing this on a Monday evening. It's almost 8:00 now. But I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Wish you guys a Merry Christmas. I don't know if we're going to get gifts under the tree of wins this weekend, but we'll be back to talk about it next Wednesday. So everyone out there, Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
We'll be
Christmas,
back
guys.
before saying Happy New Year.
That's right. Merry Christmas, all.
Is it next Wednesday, Christmas Day?
I think
No,
Monday's
Monday.
Christmas
Oh,
Day.
we're
Monday.
on Monday now, so it's 7 days. Okay, never mind. Never mind.
Yeah.
I got all tore up there. Yeah, and happy Festivus, everybody.
Get that enrollment in, Mike.
Yeah, I'm about to hit send. I think I'm good. If I
All right.
seem distracted at the beginning, it's because I'm looking at this like,
But don't count on the confirmation email. You're not going to get one.
no, I know. I've already, so now I know that I won't freak out. I'll be able to go to bed, but it better be there in the morning.
Right.
All right, boys. Have a good Christmas. Everyone out there, we will see you next week. Go Giants and go Jets.
Merry Christmas.